afternoon, students. In the last lecture, we discussed about the reproduction. We discussed about the reproduction in the fungi, where we discussed two specialties. One of them is Aspergillus, and another one is a mucor. So today I am going to discuss importance of the fungi, okay, in the world, and I also use some of the photographs. Okay, if you want to see some of the new fungi as well. Okay, so right now I am going to continue with the Basidiomycota, okay, in which I am not going to cover the reproduction. Basidiomycota are basically the club fungi, includes mushrooms, toadstools, bracket and self fungi, okay, puffballs also, okay, stinkhorns, etc. Okay, these are the various different types of club fungi, and also the smuts, okay. It is mushrooms, toadstools, brackets, self fungi, puffballs, rust, stinkhorns, smuts. Okay. So what are the basic uses, or what are the uses of the Basidiomycota? Some are used as foods, okay, like portobello mushrooms. Others may even damage the crops, such as rust and smuts, okay, okay. These are the photograph of a corn smut, where you can clearly see the smut and the rust, okay, similar to the rusting of a iron. It appears similar to the rusting of a iron, okay. And today's lecture will be more of a informative lecture and generalized lecture regarding the fungi. And the other characteristics of this club fungi: seldom reproduce asexually. Visible mushroom is basically a floating body, and the basidiocarp is made up of a stalk. Called stipe, and the flattened cap with the gills called basidia. Okay, basidiospores are found in the basidia, and the annulus is a skirt-like ring around the stipes. Okay, and vegetative structures are below the ground. And what are the uses of ascomycetes now? Okay, uses of ascomycetes now. Truffles, morels are one of the good examples of the edible ascomycetes, and penicillium mold makes an antibiotic, penicillin, okay, and some ascomycetes also give flavors to certain cheeses also, like penicillium roqueforti, which gives blue coloration and a flavor also, okay. And the Saccharomyces cerevisiae is used in making of bread and wine, okay. So now next comes the next group is the Chytridiomycota, okay, and generally are called as chytrids, and produce motile spores, where none of the other fungi produce motile spores, but this fungi basically produces motile spores, and mostly are saprobes, and some are parasites in the aquatic environment, and they biodegrade and recycle nutrients. Okay, this is an chytrid which attacks on the various potatoes, okay. Now some of the other examples of chytrid also, okay. Frogs, some of the frogs, you can see a dead frogs here, okay, you can see the dead frogs here, okay, which are killed by parasitic chytrid, okay. And morels, okay, you may have not seen the photograph of a morels, okay. It's an escaline. They belong to the group ascomycetes, okay, and escaline feeds on the upper part of the fruiting body, okay. This one is a photograph of a morels. Now comes the truffles, okay, and these are the ascocarps. Which form underground, okay, and asci are basically inside. inside. Okay. Now the next comes various other examples also, not of the chytrids but the other fungi such as sulfungus, okay, such as sulfungus, and this one is a cantarellus, and this fungi is a cantarellus. Okay. Now the next one, giant puffballs, okay, giant puffballs, stinkhorn, and death cap mushroom, and death cap mushroom. Okay. The next ones, now the economic importance, and different types of fungi have different uses, or some may be even harmful also. Okay. But many of the fungi can also be used by the human beings, now for example, these two fungi basically given here, okay, can damage the fruits, such as you can see here clear, a green mold, on the fruit, and the mildew, okay, white patches you can see here, okay, is basically due to powdery mildew. And some of the mushrooms, okay, this is a photograph of a mushrooms. There are a variety of mushrooms. I'm just going to just discussing the economic importance of fungi. So they are involved in the fermentations of various products, okay, ranging from the antibiotics to the foods, okay, okay. And the yeast are the type of fungus made of one cell, and they change sugars into one cell into other molecules, such as alcohols and carbon dioxide gas through the fermentation. This is why people use yeast, okay, use yeast for the preparation of drinks like wine, okay. And they are also called as micro chefs also, okay. And who would have thought that the microbes would also be helpful in the kitchen, but actually they are, very useful in the kitchen process, especially in the process of the fermentation. Okay, let's have some basic information, okay, of one of the economic importance is the making of the wine. Okay, first step in making wine involves crushing of lot of grapes, involves the first step of the wine making involves crushing of lot of grapes, and traditionally people did this by stamping grapes on their feet. Now the grapes have natural yeast on their skins, okay, and crushing them mixes the yeast with the sugar inside, and this starts the fermentation of the wine, okay. And when the yeast dies, when the amount when the amount of alcohol becomes too high, okay, when the amount of alcohol becomes too high, and if the wine is bottled before the yeast dies, the bubbles of the carbon dioxide are trapped, making it fizzy, okay. Now some other foods also, okay, some of the foods such as bread, okay, you already know bread, where you can see the holes which are basically are made up of are made by the carbon dioxide gas, okay. Next comes kimchi. This is a traditional Korean dish made from the cabbage and other vegetables, where bacteria ferment cabbage to give sour taste. Next comes cheese, okay. Next comes cheese. When one of the sugar's milk sugars in milk called the lactose is fermented using bacteria. Okay, it makes lactic acid. Okay, and lactic acid is what that gives a cheese a tangy flavor. Okay, so as well as in the case of aging of a cheese, this some of the fungi are also used in the aging of yeast. Okay, so now the zombie ants. Okay, you can search in the YouTube also, where in a National Geographic video is there in a YouTube, where just type zombie ants. Okay, and it's a very interesting video where basically fungi infects fungi infects the ant. Okay, and takes the control of the ant's behavior. Okay, and we normally think of the fungi growing on a dead plants and animals. However, some can grow even inside the living creatures and even change their behavior. And one of the freaky fungus turns ant turns the ant into the zombies. Okay, so what are they going to do? Mind control. Okay, when the spores of the certain fungus called opio sorry Ophiocordyceps unilaterales land on a ant, they spread through the ant's body. Before long, the fungus will completely take over the ant's mind and behavior. Okay, so once a spore lands, okay, the spore fall from the fungus and land on a ant, and they use specialized chemicals called enzymes to break into the ant's body. Okay, and the fungus basically starts infection in the fungus, in which they are going to multiply and spread through the ant, and they release more chemicals more chemicals which leads to the change in the ants behavior. Now what happens? The ants climbs, okay, climbs up, okay, to trees or whatever, branches, whatever is there, okay, on the top of a plant, and bite down hard. Okay, and bite down hard, and the fungus basically now sprouts to the plant by its strong jaws, and the ant dies, and the fungus growing inside the ant bursts into a long stalks, okay, out of the ant. And similarly, this fungi releases more spores, and which fall onto other unsuspecting ants below, making the new zombie ants. But not all the fungi are basically bad. Okay, not all the fungi are bad. Some of the fungi are even good also, which can kill leaf-eating ants also. Okay, which can kill leaf-eating plants, as well as various other insects also. Okay, this way this fungi can help to kill ants. Okay, now you can see the photograph more carefully. Okay, how they bite down hard. Okay, how they bite down hard with the help of their jaws. Now see here, the jaws are basically bited by jaws basically bite down the branch of a tree. Okay, now moving forward, the mycorrhizae. What are mycorrhizae and what are its benefits? Mycorrhizae, basically it's an association between plants and fungi, and it's a type of symbiotic association, you can say. Okay, and the fungus have a relation with the plants with their roots, okay, in which fungus helps the plant in nutrient and water uptake, okay, and in return plants provide plants provide carbohydrate for the fungus, and this carbohydrate is used by the fungus as food, okay, and there are several kinds in which zygomycota, in which hyphae invade root cells. In the case of ascomycota and basidiomycota, hyphae invade root but do not penetrate the cells. So there are various different types, and they are important ecologically. They are extremely important ecologically. Why? Let us see a diagram first. The mycorrhizae formed by a fungi and the root of the at the root of the hemlock tree, where you can see the fungi, okay, in a young root, okay, which in which basically fungi covers a young root, but this case fungi is helping the plant, okay, it is not going to cause any disease in the plant, okay. Now what happens is, I tell you why they are ecologically important. The photograph is on your screen, okay. So a 6-month-old juniper seedlings grown with or without mycorrhizal fungi is sterilized in a phosphorus poor soil. Now you can see the differences. You can see the differences. Now without the fungi and with the fungi. With the fungi you can see more amount of the growth of the same plant. The similar applies to the trees of the forest also. Okay, trees which are found in the forest, which have a very important association with the fungi. This is how mycorrhizae help the plants. Now comes lichens. What are lichens? It's an association. It's an association between fungi and then algae. It's a symbiotic association between fungi and algae. Okay, and fungi. The structure. These are the photographs of the lichens. Provide structural assistance, and in return, algae provides in return algae provides food, okay, and form a thallus, called as foliose, fructicose, or the crustose. Okay, you need not to remember this, but just for your information. Now please have a look at the structure of the lichen, okay, where the green cells here are of algae, and the rest of the filaments are of fungi, okay. Similar in this case, okay, a algae which is covered by a fungi. It's a symbiotic association, and these lichens can also act as biomonitors, and thalli act like sponges, and some species are more sensitive than other to the pollutants, and which species some of the species can indicate the air quality also, and the most resistant species can be analyzed for the pollutants also, okay. Now we are moving forward with the food and beverage industries, okay. In the food and beverage industries, what are the applications of fungi in the food and beverage industries? As a brewers used in the case of a citric acid production, okay. In the brewers yeast, you all know, Saccharomyces cerevisiae, a yeast, is used. In the case of a citric acid, which is used in soft drinks, candies, artificial lemon juices, baked foods, etc. Again, a variety of places, okay, which is produced by fungus fermentation using the Aspergillus niger, okay. Now the next one, the soya sauce, okay, used as condiments or coloring or the flavoring agents, okay, and it is being produced with the help of aerobic fermentation, which involves Aspergillus oryzae or Aspergillus sojei. Okay, and the next one is tempeh, which involves fermentation of cooked whole and dehulled soybeans. Okay, similarly, it's a product of again soybean, but a fermented product of the Rhizopus species. Which results in a cake-like product that can be cut into cubes and fried or even cooked with the other ingredients. Okay. Now, as you all know, in the baking industry, again, baker's yeast is used, okay, which ferments sugars in the flour, releasing the carbon dioxide and makes bubbles in the dough, causing a dough to rise, and used even in the leavening of a bread and other baked processes. Okay, and alcohol, it is also produced during this fermentation of a bread, but it evaporates during the process of baking. Next comes is a cheese ripening, which I told you earlier in the lecture. Okay, is basically cheese aging of cheese, in which this fungi may be used for the aging of the cheese, where penicillium is used, okay, for the aging, and various other blue cheeses such as Roquefort, uh, Gorgonzola, Stilton, or soft cheeses such as Camembert and Brie also have a aging process in which fungi may be used. Now comes the mycoprotein or the corn. In the 1960s, the mycoprotein was developed by Rank Hovis and McDougall, and in the year 1986 manufactured and marketed under the name of corn by the Marlow Food Limited. Okay, and basically he extracted the protein from the Fusarium venenatum and is used as a health food to an alternative to a meat, and is found in to be very nutritious, okay, which contains high protein fiber content, but also is basically low in fat content. Okay, and it's a leading brand of mycoprotein food in UK and Ireland. Okay, now in the case of medicines, most of the antibiotics are basically produced by actinomycetes or fungi, and the first antibiotic, penicillin, was basically identified in the penicillium mold, and the first one who discovered was Sir Alexander Fleming in the year 1929. Okay, he observed the inhibition of staphylococci on an agar plate contaminated with the penicillium mold. He noticed that a patch of the mold Penicillium notatum had grown on a plate containing bacterium staphylococcus, that around the mold there was a zone where no staphylococcus could grow. And after more research, he was able to show that the culture growth of the mold prevented the growth of the staphylococcus even when diluted 800 times. Okay, he named the active substance penicillin, but still he was not able to isolate it. Okay, and other examples which are derived from the fungi are cephalosporin from the Cephalosporium species. Next one is the Grisofulvin from the Penicillium grisofulvin and the Penicillium patulum. Okay, now the statins. Okay, what are statins? Okay, they are a class of drugs used to lower the cholesterol levels, and are products of metabolic reactions in the fungi. Okay, they are the products of the metabolic reactions in the fungi. For example, one of them is lovastatin, okay, produced from the Aspergillus terrestrians, and the second is The second is mevastatin, which is produced from the Penicillium citrinum, and the functions of these statins are they inhibit an enzyme HMG-CoA reductase. They inhibit an enzyme HMG-CoA reductase, which plays a central role in the production of cholesterol in the liver. Okay, and also involved in the synthesis of cholesterol level in cardiovascular patients. Now, as a immunosuppressives also, some of them such as cyclosporin A, which is being produced by the Tolipocladium inflatum, okay, which acts as a immunosuppressives, okay, and this drug basically prevents organ rejection in the case of organ transplants by inhibiting the T cell activation, okay, and most of the fungi are basically good in the source of a vitamins, okay. Example is brewer's yeast, which basically synthesizes the B group vitamins, and in industry the fungi Nematospora gossypi and Eremothecium acebi are used to produce B vitamins, okay. Now in the energy production is still under research, where an endophytic fungi that lives within a plant churns out mycorrhiza, but still under research, okay. Crop improvement, as we already studied, okay, they form a symbiotic relationship with the leguminous or various other plants also, okay, and can also be used as fungal fertilizers also, okay. And mushrooms, you all know, okay, which can be used as a food also, okay. Now these are the photographs which are ideal houses of the mycelium and mushroom growth in the Namibia, okay. Fruiting bodies, just only photographs left in today's lecture. Mycelial development and the fruiting bodies, you can see. Now fungi in the case of wastewater treatment, fungi such as Aspergillus niger, Chytridium cuparium have been used to reduce highly toxic tannins in the tannary effluents, and penicillium can be used to coagulate bread yeast suspensions to degrade heavily colored olive oil effluents to low molecular weight polyphenols also, and the Aspergillus oryzae removes colored product melanoidin from the liquid molasses wastes, okay. So there are various of the uses of the fungi and kinds of fungi. There are various kinds of fungi, just the photographs for your information. Students, now you can join the WebEx session. Please join the WebEx session.